and thank you for joining me. Today we are going to look at Agentforce and we're going to try to build an Agentforce bot. I'm actually going to be following this trailhead today. I will try to speed it up at places so that you can just look at the steps if you don't have access to an org. But if you decide to do it yourself, you can definitely take a look at this trailhead and follow along. All right, so I got access to an org through the trailhead, and this org already has pre-configured logos and stuff. So we are going to pretend that we are part of Coral Cloud Resort. Salesforce has a lot of demos as it relates to this resort, making the life of the customers of the resort who visit the resort better, suggesting them activities to do and so on. So I've definitely seen demos using this org. So I'm glad that this Trailhead Playground comes pre-configured with those things. The first step you have to do after getting an access to an org, any org, is you have to enable Einstein. I'm going to go to Einstein setup, and as you can see, turn on Einstein. I'm going to do that, turn it on, and then going back to setup, search for agent, click on agents, make sure Agentforce is also enabled. I think it used to be Copilot. Yeah, exactly same thing. So it's essentially the same thing. I do have a video on this as well, but now all of the things are rebranded to Agentforce. And we are going to be working with a site. The steps also require you to enable the Experience Cloud site that they already have set up for us. I'm going to go to that. This is already in the org. I'm going to go to the Coral Cloud site. We are going to just publish the site. That's all we're doing. If you are interested in learning more about the Experience Cloud, you can definitely play around in this website. Really neat. While that's happening, we can come back here and assign us some permission sets. Like with any other things on Salesforce, we do get access to newer permission sets. If you already have this in your org, even better. You can actually try out in your own org. It looks like you'll also have a user called Einstein Service Agent user with a custom Einstein Agent user profile and has a permission set Agentforce Service Agent user. What we're going to do is we're going to assign this more permissions that we just talked about. We're going to give it the Service Agent permissions. Find that Service Agent permissions and save. So basically we are creating and assigning permission sets to this user. Now we can create an agent. So let's go back to an agent. So now this agent is not the user agent. Okay, so that's the important distinction here. So far we are just used to saying agents equal to user, but in this scenario agent is the virtual. We're talking about the virtual agent. Going to click new agent, and this is the first time I'm doing this, so this is very exciting to me. Agentforce Service Agent as the type. So as you can see, deliver personalized customer interaction with an autonomous AI agent. Now click on that and hit next. And you can actually define different topics that you want your agents to do. As I have discussed in my previous videos, agents are associated with topics. So you don't want one agent doing sort of everything, right? You may have an account management agent that is handling customer inquiries about contact information or creating accounts. There might be a case management agent. There could be combination agent who does some things together, reservation agent. So really depends on your use case. In this scenario, it looks like we're just going to stick with a general FAQ agent, so you can create that. Let's unselect everything else. So we're just going to skip reservation, delivery issues, all these other things, and we're going to just leave it to general FAQ agent. So you can also see what the included actions are. So each topic has multiple actions. You can also, if you're curious, look at other things like reservation. What do they have? If I click on this, it will tell me the actions that it comes with is answer questions with knowledge. So if you have a website or you're using Experience Cloud already, if there's already a public site that you're using powered by knowledge, you can probably try this out pretty easily because it can help answer questions with your knowledge that you already have. Pretty cool. Now we're going to change the name because I do want to get that trailhead done. Next, changing the name to CC Service Agent, which is Customer Service Agent. And for the company, I'm going to put this information. What's the company? What does it do? You can see information about the company that this agent represents. So it's important to add this information is how you'd want it to. An agent user, because we just created an Einstein Service Agent as the agent user, we're going to select that, pretty much it in this step. First, we created an agent user, and we're now creating an agent and assigning that agent user to this agent. Next, and we can just do create. We're skipping the data cloud. If you had robust library, that's another thing to note, is if you have a data cloud instance, or maybe you have some SharePoint or some other knowledge outside of Salesforce, you can bring that in data cloud. And data cloud, I think, can also consume now unstructured data. Import everything into data cloud, create a data library, and then use that to power your agent. And we can hit create. I don't know what those errors are because I didn't really choose data library, but I'm going to just ignore them. Okay, so now we are here. This is very familiar, at least to me, because I have used this before while playing around with Copilot. So I'm glad that this interface stays the same. And now we know that we started with this topic. That topic already is here, general FAQ. Let's create a new topic, and I'm going to call it experience management. Description, all of these things are important because, as you can see, an agent uses this description to determine when to use this topic. So it is important to give a good description. Not only a good practice, but if you don't do it, your topics won't work as good and your agents won't work. Scope. So here the topic addresses customer inquiries and issues related to booking experiences at Coral Cloud Resort, including making reservations, blah, blah. Scope. What is scope? The scope tells an agent what it is able to do with your topic. The description is used to determine when to use this topic in a conversation, right? And the scope actually sets boundaries, like what is your agent able to do. So in this case, the agent's job is to assist users in navigating and manage bookings for different experiences. If the customer asks for something random, like I need to pay my bill, it may not help you with that because that's not the job, that's not the scope of this. All of these kind of work together. And then you can give instructions on how to do that. And the instructions can be using the actions that you already have. If you want to say use order action for this type of things, you can do that. So like try to make it more specific, but also not too long. This trail, I have there are 5 instructions that I'm giving it. I'm just copy pasting from my Trailhead module. But these are some things you want to, if you're doing an actual project, you want to think about these instructions. It doesn't have to be perfect in the first try. So first of all, let's read this. If a customer would like more information on activities or experiences, you should run the action, get experience details. So that's a specific action, and then summarize the results. They're basically giving different scenarios. It's like writing flows decision elements, but in text. If the customer is not known, you must always ask for their email address. So just like how creating flow, you have to think about different things that user may do, and you have to write different pathways for that. This is the same thing. You have to work with your business and kind of be logical and think about what are the different things the user might do and interact with this agent. So you have to come up with those scenarios and write instructions in pretty much basic English. So basically, I just copy paste all of this and leave everything as it is. I'm going to hit next. For now, you can see there are some standard actions that Salesforce comes with if some of these meet your needs. And we're just going to hit finish because we're going to create a custom action. Now going to the experience management topic, clicking on that. And this is the configuration. In case you wanted to go back and change, this is where you can go. So we are in the topics. You can go back to the topic, make edits here in case you missed something in the first screen. All this is here, the things that we just populated. And then you can come here and add topics actions. And creating new, you can create new action. We're going to add an action. And we're going to create flow action. And I think this Trailhead probably already has a flow built that we're just going to use. But in case you had your flow, you can probably do that. Reference action type. So let's see what else is here. We can have Apex, flow, and prompt template. That's nice. So you can also create prompt templates to use as an action type. Flow is what I'm going to choose. And this is all the flows in your org. Get experience details. Just auto populates the names. Leave this as it is. And so configure action for agent. An agent uses LLM to determine when to launch an action. Let me give you an example. Let's say if you have a website where somebody wants to schedule an appointment, based on that word, it will determine that, okay, I have an action that is that is actually scheduling an appointment, and it will find that action and launch it for you. You don't have to write logic to do that. And that's the power behind this. So in this scenario, I'm going to make sure I'm following the instructions correctly, providing details about some object called experience that a user would like more information about. Okay. And as you can see, it's just giving experience underscore C to make sure that the system knows experience is a custom object. And then based on that, it looks like we are asking user input. So this is going to be checked. So it requires user input. Without user input, we can't do anything with that action. So we must have an input from the user. And collect data from user is not checked, but in some scenarios, you may also need to collect certain data from the user. So we're going to not check that because the module does not ask for that. And show in conversation is checked. So input is experience name, output is experience record. Assumption is based on what we input, it's going to go find the experience record to be summarized for the user, and then it will summarize on the page. I'm going to finish it. Okay, so that is our custom action we just created using a flow. So that was our first action we created, get experience details. We're going to create a couple of more actions, and it looks like we're going to create an action to validate customer details and another action to get session records. Create a new action, again flow type, and here I'm going to choose get customer details. So we have 3 different actions here. We're going to create one more. Probably going to skip over this, just follow the trailhead for the rest of the actions. Okay, so this one is a different prompt template action, and we're going to use generate personalized schedule. Using a prompt template, it looks like it's going to be a little bit different than the other ones. Here we're going to add agent action instructions. Describe what your action does and when to use it in a conversation. What's the task that action helps you accomplish, what objects are records, and what are some phrases that can trigger the action. It's a very good info, so definitely you can read right here on what it's asking you to do. We are saying generate a personalized schedule that includes the time and location of resort experiences that are available today and that matches the guest interests. So, and then for the contact input instruction, contact for which the personalized schedule should be generated must be a valid JSON representing the custom contact info chain from having executed. Leave the required input and show in conversation. And I'm going to hit finish. Okay, another action. We are going through with all the actions. All right, so we created these 5 agent actions custom. We used 4 of them were flows and 1 of them was prompt template. So all the background work that went into creating that, we did not create any of those flows, any of those actions. So definitely some work involved in getting the actions, especially the custom actions. And then we get to test it. So I'm going to activate this agent now. I'm going to just pretend to be a customer and ask a question. Can you let me know more about the full moon beach party and experience? It is going to ask a question as we saw in that prompt template. Now it was asking for the email address and membership number. So as you can see, it used a lot in the background. So session start needs to start the session to make sure, because it's going to be on the website. So starting the session, then it's using the topic experience management as we had created that topic. And within that topic, we have these 5 actions and instructions. And based on what instructions, what's the question, it's going to use a specific action. The response is grounded, which specifies the agent must ask for the customer email and membership if the customer is not known before running any other actions. Would you please provide me your email address and membership number, which is great because we want to make sure this is following the security and not sharing information with everyone. And I'm going to put this email and membership is this. I'm going to say that. And I'm assuming the org is already pre-populated with this data, so it's going to able to find me. And the full moon party is an exciting experience where you can enjoy a night of music, blah blah. So it's getting that information from org, and it's get customer details action right here as we expected. And if you go back to the instruction, right, you can see where is this asking to get that. So if asked to get sessions for the experience, use the get sessions action. If the customer is not known, you must always ask for the email address. So all the things we said here is how it is knowing which actions to use. And then it's responding me in a JSON as well. Would you like to know the available sessions? I'll say yes. And this. Please provide for the date you are interested in. Make sure it's a future date. So I'm just going to say 1/21, 2025. Not sure if there's data around that. It'll be interesting to see what it comes up with. There's a session available for full moon beach party, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. There are 30 slots. Awesome. So let's go to the party. Once you have played around with some prompts on the conversation preview here, and once you're fully satisfied with it, you can activate the agent. And then now the next step is to embed the agent, in this case, because we are going to display it on the experience builder site, going to deploy it in embedded service. So for that, we're going to go to setup and search for embedded service deployments. And we already have an ESA web deployment. There's a whole separate set of steps for creating an embedded service and deploying it to the site. This web deployment was pre-created for us. We're just going to go ahead and publish this. Actually, it looks like it did get published 1/20/2025. Next step is actually routing the flow, which means routing the request to the newly created agent. So there's already a flow created called route to ESA. So this is an omni-channel flow. If you're not familiar with omni-channel flow, this is another type of flow. When you create a new flow, you can choose omni-channel flow just like other flow types, and it is able to route work to different skills and queues. We're going to click on the route to ESA. Currently, it is routing to a bot. We're going to switch that. There are different options. You can route to a queue, as I said, skills, agents, and now Agentforce Service Agent. So this is what we're going to choose. So we just created an Agentforce agent, and then when you select that, you can see the agent that you just created. If this doesn't show up here for you, make sure that your Agentforce agent is active. It has to be active for it to appear here. And we can leave everything the same. We still have a fallback queue. Just like with flows, say with a new version. So far, we rerouted our flow to send the request to the Agentforce Service Agent. We published the embedded service deployment. Now the next step is to actually embed that on the experience site. If you're not already here, you go to the setup, find the sites, go to the experience site that you already have, go to builder, and that should bring you to the screen. There we can go to the components and find embedded messaging. That's the embedded messaging, and we're going to drag and drop that over the book and experience piece right here. And here, the reason we are seeing that is because we just published it. So you should see this as an option. And we can leave everything as it is. And we're just going to hit publish. And here it's saying I'm an AI service assistant. For your company, you can brand it as you prefer. You can even give it a name if you want. And then let's ask some questions. Underground cave excavation. Ask that. And then because we have prompted it to always ask for email and the membership number, I'm going to have to provide that, asking me for that information. So if your use case is, hey, I need to be able to answer questions around the orders, or if you're at healthcare, I want to provide information about appointments, you want to make sure that you're asking all these questions. And then it should be able to find the record and bring the information tied to that record. Perfect. So it's giving me certain information about that. Would you like to know available sessions? Sure. And hopefully it will bring me some of the available sessions. Come back with anything. Could you please provide the date? I wonder if it's going to read the date correctly as well. Right, so it looks like it understood there's one available for here and blah, blah. And I can say number of guests is 56. Yes. Right, so it looks like I can only have 25 guests. Nice. Cool, I can make it 20. And you can go back and forth and play around with the Agentforce Service Agent. Now that you have created your first Agentforce Service Agent, let's talk about at a high level, what are the steps involved? Because while Trailhead modules is really good to give you that hands-on experience, sometimes you might get too hung up on the steps and lose the bigger picture. And as a consultant or an architect, it is really important to know what are the key steps involved so you can appropriately scope your project. Maybe you are kicking off an Agentforce work stream and you want to know what's involved so that you can give an appropriate timeline. Because a lot of things we did today in this module, lots of things were pre-configured. So it makes it look like Agentforce agent can be deployed under 15 minutes. You just create a bunch of buttons, type some things out, and boom, you have a working Agentforce. But we all know that in real projects, you won't have all of those things already available to you. There's a lot of discovery that needs to go in. Okay, so step by step, very technical steps are, obviously you need to make sure that your org is enabled with the right licenses. You can work with your Salesforce partners to get that configured. Your Salesforce account people can help you with that. Assuming that you have the right licenses, you can then go into the setup and enable Einstein and agent. So those are the key steps. After you do all that, you should have all the permission sets that you need. And depending on where you want to deploy your agent, you will also need to create the agent user that we created in the beginning. And once you have that, then comes the actual creation of the agent. But before even you can create agents, you need to do a discovery session and figure out what is this agent going to do, because based on that, you're going to define what are the topics that the agent will be able to handle. Let's say you're starting really small and it is an internal community site and you just want to launch an FAQ agent. That is a pretty decent place to start. And wherever you're tracking your user stories or requirements, you have to define what topics your agents must be assigned. If it's a general FAQ, it can just be a general FAQ. If there are additional things that you need to add, you can definitely create those. Make sure the topics have the right attributes called out. You need to have a description, a label, and this needs to be meaningful. You have to have a scope. That means what your topic can do, and you can give it instructions. Instructions can be more than one. In fact, you have to strive to have like at least 3 or 4 instructions for your topic. And once you have the topics, then the next thing is actions. Actions is where a little bit of development work is involved, of course, because you have to create the flows. If the out of the box actions don't do the job, you will probably need to create custom actions, which means you'll have to create the flows that will then be used by those actions, or you have to create apex or prompt templates depending upon your requirement. You'll have to create the actions as well. So think about the time needed to create those actions. And once actions and topics are all created, that is when your agent is completed. Put it to test. Make sure a lot of people are testing with different attributes, just like you do with any project. And the deployment part, the Experience Cloud in this particular module is just the deployment of where you want to see those agents. You can also deploy it in other places, but in this scenario, we looked at Experience Cloud. If you don't already have a site, then you'd also obviously have to create the Experience Cloud site. You'd have to create the embedded deployment and then make sure it's enabled to route to that service agent. Hopefully this was helpful video. I know this was a long one, but I really wanted to deep dive into the creation of the Agentforce as well as high-level summary. If you did not go through the entire video, you're able to find the summary, and hope that was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions.